I'm Levi Warner. I'm the host of the Pursuit of Everything podcast. Joining me today is my good friend John. We're just going to chat a little bit today about business and life and everything else in between.
Yeah, so usually, Levi, you're doing all the interviews usually
Right.
with people, and we don't get to hear from you all that often about like your story and, you know, where you came from, why you're doing this business, why realty and home building. So
Sure.
can talk about all that
I
stuff.
love it. I love talking about myself. It's my favorite subject.
It's your lucky day then.
Well, it's going to be a long one.
Might have to cut this in parts.
Right.
Or
It might
something, I don't know.
might be a sequel to this one.
Maybe we can do a sequel if we need to.
Oh my God.
So to start off, Levi, I kind of wanted to just understand, like, when you were growing up, obviously you and Cozy grew up together. Like, were you always interested in entrepreneurship? Is that like something you saw yourself doing when you were a kid?
I've always been super fascinated with business and how businesses start, how businesses run. And I've talked on this podcast before about, we grew up in humble beginnings. And so it's something I never thought that I'd ever be able to do. Like, it was so far-fetched that I never thought that. I figured I would just be like a laborer or something like that. So to be able to like go after my dreams and actually like run a business, and lead people and build homes for customers and stuff like that, it's a lifelong dream for me.
So when you say you didn't think that you could, was that just because you really didn't know anybody that was like a business owner? Or?
Right. So my dad was a truck driver, and so like when we went to school, it was always go to college, become an accountant or an attorney or something like that. I was awful in school. Attendance was a problem for me. The schoolwork wasn't a problem. It was the actual like paying attention and showing up. I was a little bit of a spirited child. So I never thought, and so I for success, you were preached in school to always go after that collegiate, to get your degree. Is the only way to succeed. So for me, and I didn't graduate high school. So for me to ever think that I'd be able to run a business and run a successful business seemed so far-fetched that I didn't think it would ever get there.
What were you taught at home to make you successful? Though,
right. My dad. So Cozy asked a good question. What were we taught at home? And my dad worked really, really hard. He came from a farming background. So the putting in lots of hours to put food on the table was just bred into us. That's something that, we don't struggle with is, getting up and going to work.
Right.
But then you hear, from the hardworking parents, it's always, the man's trying to keep you down, or, society's trying to keep you down. And
40 years you get this watch.
Right. 40 years, you retire, that kind of thing. Right. So, and I'm not built for that, right? Like, I'll never retire. I'll always have to have something, right? Because, well, first off, I'm not good with idle time. Second, like, what do you just retire and then you do nothing, right? So for me, it's a constant pursuit of trying to better yourself.
Right. So the hard work part of it has never been an issue for you. Did you struggle with the type of work though? Because I feel like, at least for me, sometimes like hard labor, like I can do that all day.
Right.
But then sometimes like the mental work of like having to cold call people or whatever is actually harder than just doing manual labor. So is there any like, or was it always just like, no, I'm like mentally strong, I can just do this?
No. Growing up and, being in trouble as a kid, I never knew what I was going to do, or I figured I would be a truck driver or, be a laborer, because you're right. Just put your head down and work, and you can do that. And, construction was never anything that I thought I would fall in love with, but I worked in a construction site in Alaska when I was 18. And I really liked it. And then when I moved back to Montana, I was, building trusses for homes, and it all kind of seemed to always follow that direction. So, but I always figured I would be on that labor side, building the houses or something like that. And then I got a job bartending. Well, first I started bouncing, right? Because I'm a bigger guy.
Right.
I started bouncing, and then I again worked hard, moved up into that, and I did that on the weekends to make extra money because we had to eat, and I had a kid at this time, and so once I started bartending and I learned how to talk to people. Like I have a son who's 23 right now, and I'm telling him he needs to go get a retail job somewhere where you're forced to talk to people. Because I grew up this big guy, always tried to be intimidating, that kind of thing. And then once you figure out like you can be nice to people and they tip you, and you make more money, it seemed like a natural fit. And I always get along with people and I connect with people. And once I kind of figured that out, that kind of led my way into sales, to where I think that every young person should get that retail job, or wait tables, right? Cozy was a waitress for a long time. Like when you learn how to talk to people and connect with them and learn, help them with their needs,
for sure.
It'll help you hit your goals faster.
Yeah, whatever you do, if you want to be successful, there's going to be some sort of communication.
Absolutely.
Component.
Right. And my 23-year-old's like talking to a wall right now. Like he is improving. I feel like I was like that too at that age. I'm sure I was. But you just have to, it's a muscle, right? Like, you know, talking to people, communication is a muscle that you have to work, and you just get better. You just, and that's a big reason why we're doing the podcast, because it's kind of like flexing that muscle, getting better and using that as well.
Right. I also think there's a little like natural ability to be able to talk to people.
Yeah.
Right. Like, but yeah, it's definitely something you have to work on.
You do.
Yeah.
It's a skill, and I think it's something that should be taught in schools. Right. I should have went into debate or something like that, just because you use those skills. Don't just play football. But learning those, it's a huge skill that I think a lot of people, especially now with computers and the chat GPT and everything, people are losing that skill, that that interpersonal communication. Right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. A lot of young people get anxiety about even talking on the phone at all.
Right. Yeah, and I think that you just have to get better.
Yeah.
Constantly with that.
So you started doing, or you realized you could do sales. So what was like the shift for you where, I'm just going to be a bouncer or bartender, into I'm going to, do real estate and maybe own my own business? Like, what was that? How did that shift for you?
Yeah, I got into property management. So the big shift for real estate for me is I read the Donald Trump book, Art of the Deal. Whatever your politics are, whether you love him or hate him, that book is fantastic. That book changed my whole trajectory in life. That, just him walking through how he got deals done. And my brain kind of works like that too. Like, okay, you have to hit step 1 to step 2 to step 3 to make all of the, simultaneously while things are happening. And that really intrigued me to, how do you get to where you have no money to buy this apartment? Or
why did you pick up that book in the first place?
I think it was just Donald Trump's personality. It was that time when The Apprentice was out, all of that kind of stuff, and he's talking business.
Were you reading like other development books?
Yeah, I got into reading business books real early. When I started working for a property management company, I was still doing maintenance and still doing those kind of things. But my boss at the time, he was having this huge garage sale, and he just brought this monster box of books for me. And he's like, here, I don't want to sell these. I want to give them to somebody. Nice. And so, I read every book about accounting, and he was an accountant. I read some of them were the driest books on the planet, but I just hammered through every book because I had this drive to be successful. And I didn't know how to get there. And, so now what's funny with YouTube and Instagram, like you can have role models. I can go look at Ed Milet and model my business and my life and find out the discipline that it takes. Or you can follow an Andy Frisella at First Form and see how he builds his business and his podcast. When I was growing up, there was none of that stuff, right? There was Tony Robbins, and that was really about it. And so I just wanted to get all of the knowledge to try to, and I'm still like that. I'm still a reader. I just hammer through books as much as I can. Audiobooks, read books. I think it's such a huge important thing to always be learning. So I was working maintenance, and then they moved me into a property manager position. There was two bosses there. They were the first two people that kind of saw something in me, to kind of guide me into that manager, leader, sales type of role, to where they really taught me. There was one there, his name was Jim, and he really taught me how to communicate with people. He really from just an example, like, because I'm a bigger guy, and if a tenant came in and it was like a small woman, he would say, sit down with her, don't stand over her. That way you're on the same level. I don't want to be intimidating. I don't want to, how your voice reflects on what you're saying. Don't say, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. So he taught me a ton about that stuff. And Dick was the other guy, and he was the accountant that kind of started teaching me the business skills that I needed to learn. So, and kind of from there, selling real estate was just a natural progression for me. That was just kind of the next step. There was just more money, more opportunity in the selling.
So you were managing, or you were a property manager, and then at that point you decided to get your realtor's license.
Yeah. Well, funny story. I had a quick interlude in there. I worked at the Housing Authority, which deals with they give out all the Section 8 low-income housing funds to people that need it. Government job. So, and I had two kids at this time. So I thought the natural progression was, okay, so you get a government job, you get, Veterans Day off. And
when you got that job, everybody thought it was like the greatest thing.
Absolutely. Everybody, my whole family thought it was fantastic, right? You get benefits, you get every holiday on the planet, Flag Day. You get everything off.
Juneteenth. Not back then, but now.
You get them all. Yeah. And from the first week, I was miserable. I was absolutely miserable. Not because of the type of work I was doing, just the you're doing too much. Slow down because you're making us all look bad vibe. And there's no end in sight, right? Like, you're helping people, which is the fantastic part, because those people do need homes and they do need assistance. Just like you can never grow. There was one manager spot. The lady that was there was going to be there forever, and that was just not my mindset at the time. So I think I lasted 6 months, and I was studying for my real estate exam, like at lunch break. Like, I didn't even hide the fact that I was not going to be there long. I was miserable. It was, it's probably a great job for somebody, but not for me. I have a hard time sitting still and sitting in a desk for 8 hours a day, just processing paper and, never getting anywhere. You're just kind of treading water. So, so then I got my real estate license from there.
Yeah.
So
and it was all
100 miles an hour from there.
Plums and roses once you got your real estate license.
It was at first. I came out of the gate hot.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah,
okay,
I did. But this was 05, 04, 05. So I've been selling real estate for 20 years, and the market was good. Things were moving. And again, that hard worker mentality, that workhorse mentality. I was having 2 lunch appointments a day, 2 coffee appointments a day.
Yeah.
2 open houses a weekend. I was just out working.
Right.
And in real estate's a commission only job.
Yeah.
Right. So to supplement my income, I was working at UPS in the morning throwing boxes, because remember I had 2 kids. Yep. Yep. And then I was painting with my maintenance guy that I had hired during the property management years. I was painting with him at nights and weekends to supplement that work, because I had I had a family to support.
Right.
So
you had 2 kids at that time.
Yep.
And when you quit your government job,
full security,
to do real estate,
And that's another thing.
My first wife was very understanding.
My first wife was very understanding. She still is. She still is. Wonderful person. That's another thing that I tell people that I'm coaching in real estate and everything, is like, I've never been afraid to just follow my gut. I could have stayed at that housing authority job for 40 years and retired, and been safe.
Yeah.
I've never followed that stay safe mentality. Like I just always knew there was something more out there to go get.
Yeah. I resonate a lot with that because like I have 3 kids and I was at like not a government job, but it was a job at an insurance agency.
Yeah.
And quit to, do photography and making videos for
right.
people and stuff.
And
Luckily, my wife
people.
comes from an entrepreneurial family and she's doing like the same work essentially. And so she was very supportive, but like, yeah, it is a hard leap though to make when you like you can't fail at that point. Like you have to make it work.
There is no fail. And I think, a couple of things to that, coming from and I hate bringing this up, but it's a big topic that people like to hear is, we grew up super, super in poverty. So I could always go back there, right? Like once you start making money, like I'm always fine. I can go back to the trailer. Living like that doesn't bother me. So failing has never.
There's so many ways you can make ramen noodles.
Right. I can make ramen noodles a bunch of different ways, right?
Yeah.
So failing has never been I've never been afraid of that. And to that point, though, having a supportive spouse is a huge, huge part of that.
Yeah.
I've been divorced once. I'm married currently. Both women have been extremely supportive of everything that I've done. Just my personality just won't let me be sitting still. So having that support at home you're right, John, is super, super important because if you don't have that, if you don't feel comfortable going home and expressing the stresses that you've had during the day and the failures, if you can't have that partner at home that has an ear and will listen to your struggles, it's a huge problem. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs fail because of that, right?
Yeah.
That, they don't have the support of their family.
Yeah, I don't think I could do it without support of a spouse.
I think I could do it. They just wouldn't be my spouse anymore. I'm just built like that. That's just how I am. I just think that you have to, if you don't follow your own path, like I don't think of marriage as like we have to agree on that path, but you have to be going parallel. Yeah. And you have to support them too, right. Whatever they're choosing. I think that path has to be parallel and you have to have the same values and that sort of stuff, or you're never going to get to your destination if you guys are both, one's thinking that you should work at the housing authority and, you have this urge to go do something bigger.
Yeah. So what do you think really because there's a lot of real estate agents.
Oh, yeah.
There's a ton of them.
Right.
And a lot of them.
A lot of people have the recipe, John. Not everybody has the sauce. What's my new one? A lot of people watch Bruce Lee movies, but they can't do kung fu.
I think a lot of the real estate stuff it's the freedom of it, right?
Yeah,
you don't have a boss.
Right.
So you have to make yourself go to work.
Right. Yeah. One of my good friends is a broker, and he's who I started with, and he's like, if I interview somebody and they say I'm doing it for the flexible schedule and I really like homes, then you're never going to succeed, right?
Yeah.
I think when Cozy started, when I started, my broker and the guy that led me in the beginning, he gave me a list of things. It's like dress up, show up, make calls, take calls. There was like a list of 10 things. And I hammered that checklist every single day, right? And you just got to do, one of my big sayings in our office now is if you do the little things right, you'll do the big things right.
Yeah.
So if you show up every day and you make those calls and you take those calls, and you do those little things right, you're going to get to the big things. So when Cozy started real estate, I gave her a list of things to do, and she did every single one of them, right? Yeah, everybody wants to, like the TV shows and everything make being a real estate agent really glamorous, but the nuts and bolts of it aren't glamorous. You have to get out there and find clients because you get your real estate license and you're unemployed.
So the funny thing about when I started compared to when Levi started, so Levi told me do these things. Some of them were, and it wasn't that, what was it, 10, maybe 12 years after you had first started real estate? It was obsolete, right? Because of technology. So it was
we had no Facebook when I started.
Right. And one of the things was he was sit in the office because when people come in to the office, wanting to buy a house, you want to be the one that's there. No one walks into a brick and mortar real estate broker.
Yeah, I've never walked it.
I still sat there.
Oh yeah. Like when I first started, you wanted to get in the yellow pages.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So it's just to your question. It's just doing the mastering the mundane. You know, the open houses. You have to meet people, and that's the hard. Just like in your business, like when you started this photography and videoing, you quit your job and insurance, and all of a sudden, like, you're unemployed. You have to go. You have to go sell yourself. That's the hardest part. Is you have to get out of that comfort zone and ask for business.
Yeah, for sure. I think a big thing for me was like once I got some business, I was like, okay, there are actually people out there that will pay me.
Yeah.
So it just like helped me believe that there would be more.
Right.
You know,
you only need one, right?
Yeah, you only need one. Yeah. Like once you have one, it's like, okay, like this isn't just some like pie in the sky thing. Like I can actually.
And there's always that imposter syndrome. Like, God, should I really be? My family gonna fail because I took this leap, right? So that should drive you harder.
The thing that's funny is I just had a conversation with my nephew about wrestling this weekend. I said, if you put in the work and you're as prepared as you can be, and then you go as hard as you can, you'll be confident you'll win.
It works in everything.
It's the same thing.
It's the exact same thing, right? And you have to do it over and over and over again. Right. It's mastering those mundane things that. It's just like we all know how to eat healthy, right? There's enough information out there, right? And I'm not great at it either. I'm still chubby, but we know what to do it. All the information's out there. The internet gives you everything, right? You can go follow Ryan Serhant on Instagram, and he'll teach you how to sell real estate. But will you get up and do it every single day, right? Yeah. Like today's the day before Christmas Eve, right? Cozy and I are working, right? A lot of people are shut down. Right, Cozy wrote up an offer today. There's no shutting down with us. Like it's 100% all the time.
Yeah, I think that's huge. You can get stuck in just finding like what you feel like will be the magic bullet that will make like success happen.
Right.
Meanwhile, you're spending all this time just searching for that one thing and neglecting all the stuff that you should be doing.
Absolutely.
Well, and a lot of it's the people on the internet selling the magic bullet.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh
yeah, for sure.
Absolutely. So then about 8 years into selling real estate, so I sold. My bigger break in real estate is I started selling for a builder, and he's still a great friend of mine, and he builds a fantastic house and taught me a lot. And then I decided that I wanted to control my own inventory, so I decided to start building houses. I had minimal construction background. I just knew the process, and kind of that art of the deal thing from Donald Trump, like figure out how to get the land, figure out how to get the loan, follow these steps. And so I started controlling my own inventory like that. And kind of to your point, then what I did was I went and built this spec house, and then it sold. And I was so busy in the process of building that business that all of a sudden I didn't have any. That one sold. I'm like, oh no, I don't have any more clients. I don't have any,
Right.
So then you got to learn,
houses.
right? I don't have any more houses going. So then I had to start the process over and then figure out how to do it like simultaneously, and get multiple houses going and multiple real estate deals going. And so like you can get caught up when you start your business. I got this first client. Then you worry about working for that one client, then you forget your marketing part of your business, right? So there's working in your business, and then there's working on your business. So there's just steps to learning those processes, which is to me is fascinating, right? So then you get your systems for your nuts and bolts of building your business, and then you get your marketing part, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh crap, then I have to be a pseudo accountant as well. So then you're working on those facets, and that's kind of what draws me to business the most is that there's so many different hats that you have to wear.
Yeah. No 2 days are the same
at all, and especially in building homes because we have we probably have 50 subcontractors that work on each house, and then I've got employees, and then you're a leader, then you're in management. So then that's a whole new facet, and then you're just dealing with just different problems at different times of the day. And to me, it's just there's never a dull moment. You wake up every day, you don't know what the world's going to throw at you. And it's just like, and I love it. Like, it's, again, like when you're starting your business, you know, talking to people's a muscle, and so is the stress, right? You know, every little stress is a muscle that you have to work and figure out how to get better at it. You know, the financial stress, the management stress, you know, all of that kind of stuff, just kind of, you get better and better and better at it as you go.
Yeah, for sure. So you were selling real estate for a builder. Like, was it hard to just jump and start building houses? Like, how did you find the subcontractors that you needed?
So I already knew a lot of them. You know, we live in the town where I grew up. So I went to high school with a lot of our subs.
Oh, nice.
And then for the 5 years of selling with him, I knew a lot of subs that way too. I joined the local homebuilder association. I was out marketing, all of that kind of fun stuff. So I knew a lot of the subs. So, you know, before I jumped in, you know, I made the contacts, I made the budgets, you know, all of that kind of stuff. So that was probably the easiest part, finding the subs.
Yeah.
The hardest part's the financing, finding the money, you know, and that's what's great about that Donald Trump book, is he talks through all that stuff, right? Like, just, you know, how each individual deal he had to go find, you know, deal with the city, talk about taxes. I need to go reread that book.
It sounds like I need to read it too.
Yeah, you do. Absolutely. Yeah. So finding the subs was the easy part. Just the finance, you know, and then just learning, you know, getting the cobwebs out and just learning the different processes. And
how long ago was that you started actually building?
11, 12 years ago. Yeah.
So talk about maybe a little bit, because for me, I feel like with the subs, it's easy for me to be like, hey, I don't understand. Right, I'm a girl. Hey, I don't understand this. Explain it to me.
Right.
Maybe talk about that a little bit.
Right. So, and I have limited construction knowledge. I've never framed a house. I've never trimmed a house. You know, I've done very minimal, you know, like skilled labor stuff. So I did it just like Cozy just said. Like, if there's a plumbing problem, I'll ask the plumber. Okay, you're the expert. What do you think about this? You tell me and why. And then you just start learning those, you know, that way when that problem comes up again, you don't have that problem. Yeah. Right. So
how did it like hurt your ego having to ask him?
No, I don't have any. I don't have any ego and stuff I'm not good at. Right. Like, I'm not a fast runner. So if I'm running and I go right. So if I'm wanting to run a marathon and I ask a marathon runner, okay, what's the best way to do this? There's no ego in it for me to so like, if a framing question or a plumbing question comes up, I'm going to ask the best person that knows how to do it. Right. Like, if I wanted to go take pictures, I'd call you. And say, hey, what's the best route, right? Like, so, right.
That's you, like, not knowing that, or not knowing much about building is actually maybe helpful in building and scaling your business. Because I feel like too often, like, if you're the leader of the business, you get caught up in doing all the things on your own, where it's like, I don't know how to do this. Right. I have to find somebody who does.
1,000,000%. And I do that even in front of my clients. Like, they'll ask a question and I'll say, hey, John, that's a great question. Let me ask the expert. Right. People don't expect you to know everything. Yeah. And I think people would much rather you say, I don't know, and let me ask the expert, than you come up with some cockamamie story that they know is bullshit, right? I mean, nobody wants to be lied to so your ego is not hurt, right? Yeah. So I feel like I do that with everything in life. You know, what do you think about, you know, if I want to take a picture of the sunset, like, what lens should I use? What angle should I, what time of day, that kind of stuff. So I think a lot of people do fail that way because the fear of looking stupid. Yeah. They don't want to come off like they're not the expert.
Right. When a lot of like business owners do get caught up in doing everything themselves and not delegating things and wanting it to all be done perfect, and they feel like they have to know it all or do it all.
And what's silly is there is no book, there's no manual to running a business. I mean, it's everything. Every day is a challenge. Every day is something new, and you'll never know until you experience it. So there's no reason to feel like you're not smart enough, because nobody is. You have to make those mistakes yourself and live through the experience, or you're just never going to know. And if you're scared to get into those experiences, you're not going to grow. Mm-hmm. Right. And it is good to have like somebody to talk to. You know, I have a lot of friends that are in business that I can go and I can ask those questions to. And then I joined a couple of, nationwide entrepreneur groups where, because there is nobody there. There's like one builder in the state that's doing more houses than us. And they do a much smaller product, and they just do a different product than us. So it's hard for me to find people now that are the size that we're at. So I'm joining these national groups. I think, these new mastermind groups are fantastic. And then I can call them and ask them, hey, how do you deal with this problem? And, they're like, oh yeah, I dealt with this 2 years ago. And, it's nice to have those people to answer those questions.
Yeah, for sure. So 10 or 12 years ago, however long it was, started with 0 homes. How many homes are you building a year now?
So right now we're between 40 and 50 houses a year, and we're in 3 different markets in Montana.
So you got Billings, Helena, and then
in Bozeman.
Yeah. Okay, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's been a fun process. So the first year and again, I'm a salesman first. So the first year we did 6 houses. And then every year we just keep growing. We went from 6 to 12 to 20. And then, I lived through the 2008 housing crash.
Right.
So that was an experience, when I said I came out and started out hot. So I learned how to make it during those tough times. Mm-hmm. So right now you could almost consider it one of those housing crises. So we're kind of built, we're set up, because again, we lived through that experience. We've learned. So there's, so we just keep growing, and I'm really big on growth, because I think, a lot of people don't want to get out of their comfort zones.
Yeah.
So they say, oh, we're happy. We just want to be a small business. And, Andy Versello says it all the time. If you're not going forward, you're going backwards.
Yeah.
Right. So even if you're building the same amount of houses, or have the same amount of photography clients, if you're not figuring out how to make your margins better, how to save money in certain spots, how to dial in your accounting, getting that tax bill down, which is a huge problem. So I think you as a business owner, you have to be learning and growing all the time.
Yeah.
And for me, that's great. Because we talked about earlier, I always have to be pushing. I always have to be pushing in one direction. So that's good for us.
So it's kind of a perfect thing, right? Like, especially with the way the market is right now, we talk about it all the time. It's like you're nuts and bolts, like you're back to basics, right? To make it through the market like this. But so we're back to basics on that part, but then pushing at the same time.
Yep. It's aggressive patience.
Aggressive patience.
Yep. Yep. You have to be aggressive, but you have to be patient for, to hit your times.
Yeah.
We start houses at certain times of the year. We're pushing marketing at certain times of the year, because we know, like, I have to start houses in November to have them ready in the spring.
Right.
Because spring is selling time. And again, it's just learning those lessons, a decade in business.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's pretty consistent, pretty big growth to go from in a decade or so, from nothing to being the home builder doing the second most inventory in Montana.
Right.
I mean, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you. It's been a fun ride. I'm excited to keep pushing and see what we can grow to. We're looking at other markets and other opportunities.
Yeah. Where do you see Infinity Homes going in like the next 5-10 years?
I'd love to see us in multiple states. That's the growth. Cozy needs to handle the northern hemisphere, and I'm going to go south.
No, that's not how this works.
Yeah.
We'll switch on.
Right. Yeah, I'd really like to see multiple states, big subdivisions.
What state do you think will be next?
Probably. I don't know that. That's a good question. Probably.
It just depends on where the opportunity.
Yeah, where the opportunity is. I'd love to say Arizona, so I could be there in the winter.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Right by the golf courses. The logical move would probably be Idaho. It's probably the closest. Cozy really loves North Dakota, so we are landowners in North Dakota. So that's the fun part. But
I love the food in North Dakota.
yeah, absolutely. It shows. Yeah, absolutely.
Is it any different than the food in Montana?
Not really.
Yeah.
A little more starchy.
A little more starchy. A lot of German doughy food.
Yeah.
Right?
Nice.
Yeah.
Caramel rolls.
Yeah.
You can get a caramel roll anywhere in North Dakota. Airport.
Yeah.
Really?
Grocery store. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
What about Wyoming?
Wyoming's interesting.
I mean, Wyoming's even smaller than Montana.
It's even smaller, but there's growth there. It's Cozy's right. It's all about the opportunity. Wherever we can muscle our way in, we're up for.
And I think we've had a ton of success in our local markets in Montana, like growing into those markets. But it's like now we know the recipe for it, right?
I mean, going from being primarily in Billings to building houses in Helena, I mean, that's not that much different than starting a new market anywhere else. I mean, did you guys like know anybody in Helena when you started doing that?
When we started in Helena, before I started selling like the new construction houses there, the only time I had been there was for wrestling. So you get there when it's dark, and you go eat at Chili's or whatever they have. And you're sitting in the gym all day, and then it's dark when you leave.
Right.
So that was the most I had been there.
Yeah, we didn't know anybody. We knew a few people in Bozeman, but nobody in the industry really. So yeah, we just kind of started, and we really strive on customer service, so that word of mouth gets out pretty quick, especially in the real estate community. And the growth that Bozeman's had, they got a lot of out-of-state builders that didn't do a fantastic job, and their customer service wasn't great. So us being local, from Montana, our customer service is what we really strive to perform, so that word of mouth really gains traction really quickly.
We even had a situation where a real estate agent in Billings has family in Bozeman, and I think she's licensed in Bozeman as well. But she called and was like, "Hey, I heard you guys are going into Bozeman. Here, this is my family. I think her brother's in electrician or something, right? Mm-hmm. Like to where she was like, here's some subcontractors that I know. Like she was excited for us from working with us here to go into that market. So that word of mouth worked out nicely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then Levi, I want to ask you about, starting the podcast, The Pursuit of Everything with Levi Warner. Like, why start something, The Pursuit of Everything? Like, why not just do something talking about just real estate?
Just real estate, right. I didn't want to pigeonhole myself. That's why I said The Pursuit of Everything, because I think it all kind of runs in those parallel roads, where I think your business, your family, your fitness, your health, if you're spiritual, like all of those things have to align. You can't, I think like once I started taking my health serious, my business did better. Right. When I'm a better father, when I'm a better husband, my business does better. So I think those things have to align for you to have the success that you want, to have everything, right? Like, you hear a lot about entrepreneurs with the burnout, they want balance, which I think balance is unachievable. But I think if you're constantly striving for your pursuit of those things, to me, the pursuit's worth more than the end goal. Mm-hmm. If you set a huge monster goal, everyone's always happier during the pursuit than when you actually get it, right? So take my watch, for example. I always wanted the Tony Soprano gold watch. It was always a goal of mine. The pursuit to me, I save money, after every closing, I save $100 or whatever I did. And then you buy, you buy whatever, the car, the watch, whatever you like, your dream house. Then all of a sudden it's just your house.
Right.
Right. And then the best part of when you look back, the pursuit of that goal is the best part. That's when when I'm the happiest. I don't know. Everybody else is wired like I am. But to me, if you're striving to be good in all of those lanes in your life, to me, I'm just more happy. That's when I'm the fullest. That's when I feel the best. When I'm taking my exercise, my health, everything is better.
What happens? What do you do though, like if you slip on something?
Yeah, that's the best part about the pursuit is you just get back on track, right? Like it's the holidays. Yeah. Everybody's eating cookies, right? It's not about perfection. It's about the pursuit. It's, we're all going to slack. We're all going to fall, discipline's a huge part of it, but no one's perfect. And I think that people, when they strive for perfection, that's when they're let down. Right? Like I'm going to eat some pie this week. That's going to happen.
Of course.
But then you just get right back on it. And then you have to let yourself indulge, I think, and have, and have fun in life.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you have to have those goals to get back on track. If you don't get back on the track, then you're just stuck in mediocrity. And that's when I'm the most unhappy, is when I'm just kind of status quo and not pursuing those goals. So that's kind of why I named it that way. I'm also doing some coaching. I'm helping some builders that are just starting out, helping them. I figured, like we talked about earlier, for them to be able to call and ask those questions, and I can share my spreadsheets and share, the path that I took. To help them. So I didn't want to pigeonhole just in one area. I want to help business owners, grow their business the way I've been able to grow, because we have those avenues now to help people. And to me, that's kind of I'm helping, but it's almost selfish because it makes me feel good to help, to help business owners grow themselves. I coach them a little different than I coach Cozy, because I'm a lot harder on her than I am on anybody else.
Well, siblings, you got to be hard on your siblings.
Unless you want the hardcore version. Yeah, that costs less. Because that's more fun. Yeah, so for me, the pursuit of everything is just getting after your goals and trying to get, be the best version of you that you can be. And if we're always striving for that, I think that's where my happiness comes from.
Yeah, that's awesome. Do you think work-life balance is a myth, or what do you think about it?
I think it's unobtainable. Yeah. If you have big goals, I think, but I also think there's time. Let me phrase this right. I think there's times where you're pushing in your business where your health and your family might slip a little bit.
Yeah.
But when you're with your family, a lot of people, they're at their kid's soccer game and they're on their phone, looking at Instagram. If you're at the gym, you're half-assing it. When you're there, you be there. But I didn't miss a kid sporting event. I coached, I did everything. There's time for everything.
Yeah,
you can skip your Netflix time, right? We all have the same amount of time in the day. And I think that it's an excuse for people to not go after their goals because they're scared.
Yeah, no, yeah, totally. Like I resonate with that because I like you. I go to all my kids' recitals or soccer games or whatever it is that they have. I help out as much as I can, but it's like, because I'm a business owner, like I get to dictate my time. So, I'm there at soccer games all day. Then I'm up late at night, editing stuff. But
editing our videos.
Yeah. Right. So like, I don't go home and just watch Netflix, but I would rather have like that time with my kids than the time just sitting around, know?
Yeah.
I also will say, like, for Levi's kids are almost all adults.
Yeah.
I don't think your kids would say, like, my dad was there.
No, absolutely not.
Like,
no. I worked a ton, but when you're present, you need to be present. A lot of people, they think there's time and then there's, quality time. Mm-hmm. Like if you're like, I coached wrestling, I coached football, I coached baseball. Like you're present with them at that time, right? You're not on your phone. You're not.
The thing that's funny though is I would say like my dad missed stuff because he was working.
Yeah.
But like, he didn't talk about work-life balance. I feel like that's like a new thing.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. Well, it is. I mean, people used to go work 16 hours in a factory and go home and sleep.
My dad was a truck driver. He'd leave at 3 a.m. and go home at 8 o'clock at night. Like, there's no work-life balance.
Right. Yeah.
Before that, people just were working on the farm all day. Like that's just what
and then
you
just have your kids working.
Yeah, you had your kids working.
Yeah,
with
that was
you.
quality time.
Yeah,
we did it. Yeah.
So like the work-life balance to me is like it's a new trendy thing. And yeah, the truck driver doesn't get work-life balance. Why should the entrepreneur? It doesn't make any sense.
And I think I have a hard time talking about it without coming off harsh, because I think that it's an excuse for people to be soft. And I think a lot of it is because people are scared to go after their goals.
Yeah.
Right. They want to come up with that excuse. Well, I don't want to build this business because little Timmy's got a T-ball game. You have to make. I just heard a quote. I think it was in my letter, Andy Versella, that said the most selfish thing that a parent can do is not go after their dreams, because then you're showing your kids that they shouldn't go after their dreams.
Yeah.
So like my kids will never ever think, well, I can't accomplish that. I can't build a business. Or if they want to go be a teacher, they should go be a teacher. I'll never say don't follow your gut and go after your dreams because I didn't do it. Right. Like, and we got a lot of that from our dad. He was always like, you shouldn't be doing that to me. Because that's just wasn't how he was raised. He was just like the go work 60-hour a week guy. Mm-hmm. And I make it look really easy. So I think a lot of that comes back too. Like, oh, Levi's just screwing off all the time, but
he thought that. So remember, he rode around with us one time,
right?
And then he spent the day like riding around, and he was like, "Holy shit!" Yeah. Then the next thing I knew, everybody in North Dakota was like, "You guys are busy. We get it."
Right. Right. Yeah. His favorite thing was always like, "Put that phone down." I'm like, "That's my tool belt. That's my hammer."
Right.
Right. Like that's what I use to get things done.
Yeah. So, a lot of work is done with your phone.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. A lot of calls, texts. But again, when you're at home with your family, put it down, right? Yeah. There's, once your kids are teenagers, they don't want to hang out with you anyway.
Well,
you're right.
Put your phone away when you're having dinner with your family.
Right. Big time.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, Levi, I'm just stoked for you guys for the business. I'm excited to see where Infinity Homes, what states you go in, and the coaching business too. So maybe you can just kind of round things out, talk a little bit about that. So you're helping other people that want it to get into building.
Yep. We're just kind of firing it up. We're just I just did a post on Facebook. I got a bunch of people interested, and I'll if anybody's interested, drop a note, and we'll get you information. I'm just going to start the first seminar. We're going to do a seminar. And then I've got a couple individual people that want to.
Can you explain what the seminar is, though?
Yeah, so I'm going to just talk about the start to finish. How I built my first spec house, how I found the land, how I built the budget, how I got my subs, kind of like you asked, how you work with your vendors. I'm going to start from the very beginning. Start from scratch and kind of talk about how I built my first house, and then we'll get into how I manage multiple jobs, because it's a skill to go from 1 to 6 to 6 to 12 to 50.
Yeah.
So we're just gonna get in the nuts and bolts, and we'll start with some conferences, some seminars, and then we'll get into individual coaching as well.
That's awesome.
So that'll be a lot of fun.
Cool.
Well, thanks, man.
Levi.
Yeah, this was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Thanks, guys.